It is no secret that King Henry VIII is one of history's most notorious husbands. In this episode, we're diving into the wild stories of Henry's 6 wives. Did they divorce, die, or get beheaded? Let's find out. Welcome to the channel. Today, we will meet Henry VIII's queens. We are going to start with Catherine of Aragon, who was married to Henry VIII from 1509 to 1533. She was the widow of Henry's older brother, Prince Arthur, who died before ascending to the throne. Catherine and Henry had been married for 24 years and had one surviving child together, Princess Mary. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough for the king, because he wanted a male heir. The king's desire for a son led him to begin an affair with one of Catherine's ladies-in-waiting, Anne Boleyn. Henry sought an annulment from Catherine so that he could marry Anne. The Pope refused to grant the annulment, since it would cause unrest in Europe. As Catherine was the aunt of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, this didn't stop Henry from marrying in secret in January of 1533. After the wedding, he had the marriage blessed by an Archbishop Thomas Cranmer, who also annulled his marriage with Catherine. Soon after, she was sent to live in a remote castle, where she spent her last years praying and writing letters. She was visited by her daughter Mary, who later became Queen Mary I of England, but never by Henry again. She died on January 7, 1536, possibly from cancer. Her body was originally buried in Peterborough, but her remains were lost when the church was demolished during the English Reformation. Next up is Anne Boleyn, who was married to Henry from 1533 to 1536. The king met Anne when she was just 15 years old and serving as a lady-in-waiting to his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. He began having an affair with her while she was still married to his close friend, Lord Percy. Upon hearing about the affair, Anne's father, Thomas, secured her a place in Catherine's court to keep an eye on her. Henry, though, was persistent and soon moved Anne to one of his palaces. After 5 years of living together, Anne and Henry wed in secret. The couple had one daughter, Princess Elizabeth. But Henry still craved a male heir. When Anne miscarried, he began to look for a new wife. Fearing that Anne would be replaced, she began acting out and accused 5 courtiers of plotting against her. All 5 were executed, which turned public opinion against Anne. As if things weren't bad enough, her mother died soon after. On May 2, 1536, she was hit with some serious charges: adultery, incest, and treason. Can you believe it? 2 days later, she was found guilty and sentenced to death. Anne chose to have her own executioner and requested a blindfold, which was denied. Instead, a velvet cloth was placed over her eyes. Before her execution, she wrote a letter to the king begging for mercy for herself and her daughter. However, on May 19, 1536, at the age of 35, she was beheaded. Her daughter Elizabeth, who later became Queen Elizabeth I of England, was declared illegitimate. But Henry granted her the title of Princess of England. Jane Seymour was another one of Henry's queens, who also met her demise at the executioner's hands. She was married to Henry from 1536 to 1537. Jane was one of an ladies-in-waiting and was present at the birth of Princess Elizabeth. She was thought to be the reason Henry decided to replace Anne, as he found Jane to be more demure and submissive. Shortly after their marriage, Jane became pregnant and gave birth to Prince Edward, who would later become Edward VI. Just 6 days after giving birth, Jane got a high fever and sadly passed away. Though some believe that she was murdered by her ladies-in-waiting at the request of Catherine Parr, who wanted Henry for herself, a 2007 autopsy revealed that Jane died of complications. After giving birth in the kingdom, including a viral infection and possibly even a faulty birth control, really please? She was initially buried next to Henry VIII in Windsor Castle, but was moved to St. George's Chapel in 1862. The 4th Queen of Henry was Anne of Cleves, who was married to the king from 1540 to 1547. When Henry saw an IV the first time, he was disappointed with her appearance, as she did not look like the flattering portraits painted by Hans Holbein. The king tried to find a way out of the marriage and eventually succeeded. For months after the wedding, the king had the marriage annulled on the grounds that he had never loved her. Anne was given the title of the king's sister and allowed to keep her jewels and other gifts. She lived the rest of her life in England, running a religious house in Chelsea, London. She was a very wealthy woman and enjoyed a comfortable life until her Death in July 1557. She was buried in Westminster Abbey. Catherine Howard was another one of Henry's wives who met her end at the executioner's hands. She was married to Henry from 1540 to 1542. Catherine was just 17 when she caught the eye of the king. They had a secret wedding ceremony at Hampton Court Palace. Unfortunately, Catherine, unlike her father, was not cautious of her actions. She engaged in a series of inappropriate relationships before marrying Henry, and even had an affair with a man while married to the king. When Henry found out about the affair, he had Catherine arrested, tried, and convicted. She was charged with adultery, incest, and treason, and given the option to confess her sins and seek forgiveness or face death. Catherine chose to stand firm, stating that she would not confess to anything unless she was pardoned. As Henry refused to pardon her, she chose death. On February 13, 1542, at the age of 36, Catherine was beheaded. Her remains were given to her family and buried in the chancel of the Howard family's country estate, North Mims Park, in Hertfordshire. The last queen of Henry VIII was Catherine Parr, who was married to the king from 1543 to 1547. Out of all of Henry's wives, Catherine is considered to be his favorite. She helped him write his will and ensured that his children were well taken care of. Unlike the other wives, she outlived Henry and died from complications following childbirth. In September 1548, she was buried next to Henry VIII in St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. Now that we know what happened to Henry's wives, let's take a moment to look at his children. Henry had 3 children who survived the kingdom to adulthood. His eldest child, Mary, born from his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, became Queen Mary I of England after King Edward VI's death. Mary tried to restore England to Catholicism, which made her unpopular. She earned the nickname Bloody Mary due to the persecution of Protestants. During her reign, Mary also faced the threat of invasion from Spain and France. After her death in 1558, her half-sister Elizabeth took the throne as Queen Elizabeth I. Next was his son, King Edward VI, who took the throne at the age of 9. Due to his young age, a council of regency was established to govern in his place. Edward suffered from tuberculosis and died at the age of 15. And finally, there was Princess Elizabeth, the second child of Anne Boleyn. She became queen after Mary's death and reigned for 44 years. Her reign marked a golden age in England, and she played an important role in the defeat of the Spanish Armada. She was the last monarch of the Tudor dynasty. If you found this video interesting, click the like button below and subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. Make sure to dive into our other awesome videos and tap that bell icon so you're always in the loop. We really appreciate you watching. Thanks a bunch.